All right, Capricorn. So we have a couple different messages here that they are connected, but they're, I feel, in different areas of your life. Now, first I want to say that this Nine of Cups slid off the table. When I picked it up, it was reversed. And it kind of doesn't matter which way I read it, because with the Five of Swords underneath it, kind of explains why that Nine of Cups would be in reversed. But first, we do have the Three of Cups, the Eight of Pentacles. I feel what you're being pushed into, okay? And I say pushed because I think that if you weren't being given a push, you would kind of dig your heels in a little bit. Three of Cups, the Eight of Pentacles is one. I feel like it's important that you work on your passion projects. And I also feel that it's important that you surround yourself with people that are just as focused as you are. You don't have to necessarily be focused on the exact same things, but they should be the same in sense of like money or, you know, goal-oriented gain and things like that. They don't have to be in the same area though. Like you don't have to be both, you know, writers or whatever, right? So it's important that you keep your circle full of hardworking people. There also may be a fear here that, or it could be occurring, it depends on how it manifests for you, a fear that having too much of a social life or having too much fun will distract you from your work. And it's not that that can't happen. Like for some of you that may be the case. For others of you, you've been working really, really hard and people miss you. You know what I mean? They're like, where's Capricorn? Like, I want to see Capricorn. And it's important to, you know, come up for air, right? He's got his head down. He's banging away. It's important to come up for air at times and kind of get renewed by your friend group and having fun. Because if there's no fun infusion in your work as well, it's going to get really dull. So some of you may need to maybe have two part-time jobs, one that pays better and is more like traditional, and then one that is like more passion-oriented. But I do feel that being patient about in strengthening your bonds with people is really important at this time. Now, Nine of Cups with the Five of Swords, I do feel that, again, mirroring off this message, there's this feeling that you always strike out when you try to get what you want or you try to feel really good about your choices. Okay, this can be like every time that you make a decision that is 100% for your satisfaction and towards your goals that are in some ways selfish, right, but in a positive light, that someone comes in and tells you that's wrong and that you shouldn't have done that. Or there ends up being some type of repercussion for you choosing your own personal bliss. For others of you, it may feel like a damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation. Like if you go towards one avenue that makes you really happy, you know, this section of your life suffers or this relationship suffers. If you go towards the other side, you know, you make somebody else happy, but not you as happy as you want to be. It's like, I don't really know where I can find this bliss. And there also is a little bit of a protection in this contentment. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because there's plenty of times in life where we really, 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 really need to prioritize keeping ourselves happy and keeping ourselves protected. But if you keep getting into an argument with somebody that wants you to expose the heart of your choices or the heart of your desires, the heart of the matter, really ask yourself why you're afraid to do so. Because don't get me wrong, there are people out there that just don't deserve to hear the truth, right? Because they haven't, in some capacity, earned it. They haven't earned your respect. They haven't earned the right. But if there is somebody that has, and that's what we're talking about down here, then for the benefit of your desires, I feel like you have to open up and have this conversation. Because we have down here the Ace of Cups with Justice, and then we have the High Priestess. So this High Priestess, I feel for some of you is another person, a High Priestess type person, right? Scorpio dominant person, or someone who is very, very in touch with the divine feminine. Not necessarily in an extroverted way. Like you might not look at this person and be like, oh yeah, you know, they're a witch, or oh yeah, like they are like, you know, so desirable or whatever. But this is someone that's mysterious, someone that really picks up on the nuances of life, and someone that you respect. I feel like you respect this person. This can also be you, right? But with the Ace of Cups and Justice, I feel that these two need to be like added up to be the 10, right? So you're going to have to open up and have a conversation with somebody to rectify and recreate fairness in a relationship. Okay, because there's something that hasn't been said. Yeah, there's something that hasn't been said. And again, I don't feel this is out of deception. I don't feel like anyone is deceiving somebody else. But there's some deep truth when it comes to women, right? Or when it comes to trusting your own feminine body. And there needs to be an extension of forgiveness and reconciliation. Again, whether it be towards yourself, towards people that you're no longer in communication with, towards your mother, towards whomever, right? In order to bring balance back into the fold, okay? Because with justice here, it's like divine order, right? So I feel like there's something that you need to do here, Capricorn, around restoring divine order. And more importantly, restoring balance within your own life. And there's something I feel like you've been suppressing or denying of yourself of that needs more nourishment, Ace of Cups, in order to have a more fluid, balanced life. Capricorn. Just a quick reminder that I am in the process of moving, so my private reading schedule is a little bit altered. If you go to the description box, you can go to my website and subscribe to my mailing list, because while I'm going to be in transition, I'm going to run a special that's only going to be announced to people on my mailing list, or if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter. And of course, you can also sign up to get the mid-month readings. So all that stuff's below. Anyways, here we are in Scorpio season, and I wanted to use my Oracle of the Mermaid deck because I do feel that there's a lot of stuff coming up around the dark feminine. Doesn't matter if you're a man or not, or identify as a woman. This is really about dark feminine energy, right? Repressed feminine energy. And of course, you guys got the ultimate card, which I love. I think this came up for Scorpio too. We have vulnerability. Open your heart and allow yourself to be tender. And in that image, first of all, it's a very Scorpio plutonic type of coloring. But one person is human and one person is mermaid. So I feel there's, in particularly, more than anything, there's a need to be vulnerable with that which seems very foreign to you. Okay? It seems like a person who's completely different than you, right? They could literally be foreign compared to you, or they could be from a different walk of life. It could seem like they like breathe a different type of air. You're like, okay, like, because one person's a mermaid, one person's a human, so it's like water and air. It's like they could be composed of something very different than you. Like, and I feel like the more you're willing to be open to things that seem to challenge everything that you know about what it means to be human, what it means to be compassionate, what it means to be successful, right? The more you will find the safety in the serenity that you've always craved. Because she is very, in some ways it looks like she fainted and he caught her, right? And that's another thing. You may be so overwhelmed by what you open yourself up to that you feel like you're going to kind of like pass out. Like you feel like you're just going to kind of lose it, you know? And sometimes we open ourselves up to things that are foreign. In a lot of ways, it shocks our system. In a lot of ways, it is overwhelming, right? We don't necessarily have to make it mental like it gets down here. That's why I'm interested to see what happens for you guys in the mid-month reading, because I don't think that you're going to have to go through this tower moment the way that it's set up right now, because it's saying that what is disrupting you over everything is anxiety, right? So if we don't live in our head, if we live in our body, if we live in our heart, things are not as tumultuous, right? Overall energy is the King of Pentacles. So this is very much about you, right? You wanting to live life on your own accord, you being the king of your domain, the king of the castle, right? And the thing about the King of Pentacles, though, is though he's very successful and dutiful, and he's earned his status, he also tends to do things his way because he's proven their success. Now, there's twofold with that, because he's also very fixed, right? And he's not very malleable. So it's like, if you would like a type of success that you have never achieved. It's really, really important this month that you try to step out of your comfort zone and try things differently. I also would say do not take advice from anybody this month or going forward that doesn't live a life that you admire, okay? And let's say they have a very prosperous business life and you love their business life, right? Or you love their financial gain, right? But you think that their marriage is a sham or in shambles, right? Only take that person's business advice and take it with a grain of salt, especially because, obviously to an extent, business rolls into your private life, right? Because if we don't have boundaries on when our workday ends, it's going to inhibit on our personal relationships. So think about it like that. I feel like it's important to be the ruler of your own domain, but not to the point where you can't hear other people. Because the King of Pentacles is also very much surrounded by a lot of the things that he has purchased or earned through his efforts in a physical way. And in some ways, he uses them as a shield to protect himself. Sometimes King of Pentacles energy can be about like retail therapy and buying things or consuming things and having things that prevent us, right, from being vulnerable because we have all these things to dump ourselves into. So really think about that. Because it's interesting. What Spirit is asking you to release this month is the Ace of Pentacles with the Star. And on the Star, we have the rune Victory. So obviously Spirit is not saying to give up on your dreams. Hello. Because vulnerability is also a message of the Star. And that is your overall energy that you need to experience this month from the Divine Dark Feminine. But I feel like this is saying don't give up or think that at the first glimmer of rooted opportunity that the work is done. Okay? I feel like that's what it is. Because the Ace of Pentacles is a physical opportunity. It's a seed. It's a starting point, right? And we go from the Ace to the 10. And then we have the King. And we have the Knight here as well. But there's no other Pentacles cards here. So there's this idea that it's like you want to go from point A to point Z like that. Because I think it's been a really, really long time since you felt like you've been stable and you felt like you've been safe or you felt like you haven't been taking punch after punch and blow after blow in whatever area of your life that is. Because I do feel there's a huge fixation here around family wounds, the family you were born into specifically and how they have not supported you or how they have supported you. For a lot of you, I feel like wounds around motherhood are really big or around women in general. Or what you see a mature maternal woman to be. I think a lot of you that are watching this are either very different than your mother in a way that makes you upset because you feel like you had to mother your mother or you had to be an adult at a very young age or vice versa, where like you think your mom is an amazing person and you don't think you can live up to her standards, that kind of thing. But with the Ace of Pentacles being asked to be released with the Star, I feel like it's important to also remember that success is not going to come overnight, especially with things that are more passion-based, that are more based in if you wanted to do something that was going to get you fame or notoriety. Not that would be your driving force, but if it's a creative force where you need to get a lot of traction on the internet or you need to get noticed, right? With the Star, you have to get noticed, right? So don't give up or think that the work is done the second you start to gain a little traction. That's the beginning. So because there's some type of dream that you have, right, with the Star here that requires a huge amount of vulnerability. And for some of you, it can be around romantic relationships because we do have 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, building connection, right? But you are seeing a man and a woman on these cards. And there's only 3 cards in this deck that have a couple on them. So if you really want to create a space with the opposite sex or with just people in general, right, that makes you feel safe being vulnerable, you have to first be willing to risk any potential losses, right, that come at being vulnerable. Now, I'm not saying put yourself in spaces that are literally unsafe, right, because a lot of us have trauma around being abused by people that we trusted. So I feel like it's about getting back to that stuff as well. And again, I feel like for a lot of you, there's mother wound abandonment or, again, just family in general. I feel like a lot of you that are watching this have somehow been abandoned by a family member, right? people that are in some way supposed to keep us safe, right? We're told that, you know, from a very young age that like our family is the one that has to love us, that has to, you know, provide for us, that has to keep us safe, because when we're children, we can't do it ourselves. So if we're wounded by the same people who literally were entrusted in caring for us and loving us and giving us an example of what safety is, of course it's hard to be, you know, feeling safe with other people, right? But I feel like the most important part is not opening your heart, but allowing yourself to be tender. And I feel like this is about rounding off those really jagged edges this month, because not every answer or not every conclusion is going to come in the way of a physical, tangible manner. And in order to actualize and have success in surrendering, or having success in being vulnerable, having success in believing in a higher power, is not going to, like, no one's going to force you to tap into that either with the Ace of Pentacles here. No one's going to say, here's your opportunity to be soft. Here's your opportunity to believe in something bigger. You have to just desire it. And you have to want to break out of the mold that you've been in, okay? The door that's not open for you that was once closed, we have the Wheel of Fortune with the Queen of Swords. And on the Wheel of Fortune, we have the rune Luck. So I do feel that you are being granted an opportunity to change your fate or change the luck that you've been having. Because I think that a lot of you have been experiencing some hard times. Or again, it seems like you get one break in this area and then you take a hit in another area, okay? Based on what is over here. And it's because I feel like Pluto, especially being in your sign, it's been there for quite some time, and now we're in Scorpio season, it's ruler, it's getting exalted. I feel like Pluto is just trying to really break you open. Big time break you open. Because every time we cling to something, King of Pentacles, right? Every time we tell ourselves, I need things to be like this. I need to have this in order to have that. I'm in control, right? The more we grapple for control, the more spirit will flex and show us that we have no control. Okay? So you don't want to get into a state either where you're constantly responding to the external circumstance. And the way that you do that is by decluttering your mind, Queen of Swords. Decluttering your mind. Because you have an opportunity to bring a great shift into your life. But it's not going to happen overnight, Knight of Pentacles. And it's not going to be without those, you know, more daunting thoughts coming up down the road. Just because we say, you know what, I'm ready. I'm handing over my life, or I'm handing over my safety to the divine, right? I'm ready to be, you know, vulnerable and whatever. Doesn't mean that we're not going to have that tested, right? Because we can say, oh, I'm ready to be vulnerable, but to actually live that and be triggered and still stand in that space is not easy. So I feel like there's a little bit energy of you hoping things will be one and done, and they're not. And that's been really hard for you. Now with the Queen of Swords here, I feel it's important for you to be communicative. And again, I feel like a lot of the favor that you're desiring, the way you're desiring for things to turn in your favor, will come from you being very, 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 very clear about what you need, what you want, and where you're at. I feel like the more that you communicate with people that are also asking you to be vulnerable, or people that who have you know, put in the work to show you that they're loyal to you, Knight of Pentacles, are the ones that you need to be clear with. Okay. I also feel like it's important to be very clear-minded in general, because I think that any negative type of thoughts that you have towards yourself or towards your life have the power to wreak a little bit more havoc than normal this month. I just think that you're a little bit more susceptible to the impacts of negative thinking, and it's because you have the Wheel of Fortune here, which is a change, right? It was a shift in a karmic cycle. So keep your eyes forward as well. Notice how she's forward focused. It's important to not bring up anything from the past at this time. Not meaning, you know, the past will come up because it's Scorpio season and we're going to have those skeletons to clear out of our closet. But it's important not to make judgments today on what happened yesterday, okay? Your current energy as it relates to all of this. In your head, we have the Empress. In your heart, the Ten of Pentacles with the rune Wisdom. And the Knight of Pentacles. Now, these are super positive cards, okay? I feel like you are getting to a small reprieve, and you're going to get this brink of clarity, right? Around when Venus goes direct, it's going to be like, and then you're going to have to do the work, okay? So don't think the work is done. And trust me, I've been getting some messages lately about how much work I still have yet to do. And it was depressing for about 10 minutes, and then I got over it because I'm like, you know what? That's not surprising. With the Nine of Pentacles here, you need to find a balance between moving forward and not dragging your feet. Because again, there's a huge focus here on future planning. And I think a lot of you are thinking about how you can have a family of your own, making your family happy, or trying to create a life that is very different from your family because you didn't like, the type of dynamics that they had. I read something yesterday about how from the outside, everyone's family seems a lot better than the one that we have. But in reality, we all have fucked up families. So, remember that when things are not super awesome. But we chose our family on some level because there was something that we wanted to help them with, or they were supposed to help us with, whether it be through our disdain for them, right? Or how much we love them or whatever. But the Knight of Pentacles says you need to continue to plant those seeds. And I feel like this is planting one seed with the Ace of Pentacles, where the Knight of Pentacles for me is feeling like one of those machines that rolls through the field and slowly plants multiple seeds, right? But Knight of Pentacles type of energy takes like 6+ months to come into fruition. So I don't think that you're going to see the quote fruits of your labor until probably like March. I've actually been feeling a lot of stuff not coming up or not happening till around March to May. So let that, be whatever it is for you. With the Ten of Pentacles and wisdom in your heart. Again, for better or worse, no matter how perceived in your own perspective awful your family is or was, or how amazing they are, I feel like you have a lot to learn from them. And it's time to extract the lesson out of the trauma. Okay, so take a deep breath and think about how you fit into the equation. Even if you're very different, even if you're the black sheep, right? There's a reason that you're present. And I feel like you will gain a lot of wisdom and knowledge this month if you can, in a kind of out-of-body way, observe your family unit and what family means to you, what security means to you, what it means to have people around you that really get you, that really have your back. Because if you have a family that just seems to abandon you at like every single turn, right? Or maybe they continuously stab you in the back, right? What is that teaching you? You could say it's teaching you that you can't trust anybody. Or it's teaching you that just because there's a label on something doesn't mean that they know how to be loyal. Or it doesn't mean that they, know how to be selfless, right? Because even though our family is supposed to show us what unconditional love is, a lot of people are incapable of unconditional love because they've never experienced it. So if you're the one in your family that's unconditionally loving, you have to kind of be the adult, right? No matter how much younger you are than the other people. So this could be an example of like, I need to establish my own familial style bonds with the people that matter to me and treat these other people accordingly. I'm still going to love them, but I'm going to create this much distance between us, right? With the Empress in your mind, 3 is creation energy, and this adds to a 3 as well. So I do feel your mind is ripe with, right? We have feminine energy, Venusian energy, beauty, love, morals, values, and your ability to bring those to life, right? In a way that works for you. I think a lot of you, though, do have your mother on your mind, or again, whatever maternal figure you looked up to. I think some of you are wishing that like you could talk to maybe some grandmother or something that you really loved, maybe that raised you, and you're like, please, like, give me a sign, right? Others of you are thinking about, you know, I think too, if motherhood or being a wife or having a wife or anything like that is ever going to happen for you. Because you've been given such a poor example of what that looks like. And it's like, how am I supposed to live that out? Or I don't want anything that my mother had, so how am I going to live that out? But this is also about having your mind, right, through clarity, be really, really, really ripe with birth energy. And I feel like, again, like I said before, whatever you're thinking about this month has a lot of manifestation oomph behind it. So you want to think in a very open and expansive manner, and use your family as a guide in the sense of either what to do or what not to do, right? It depends on your situation. Spirit's advice for you on how to best navigate this energy. We have the Eight of Swords with the rune Prosperity, and we have the Chariot with the rune Journey. So obviously, Spirit is not advising you to be in the Ace of Swords, but Ace of Swords with Prosperity is, right, feeling locked out. Feeling like good things are not going to come for you. Okay? But the Eight of Swords is like the complete opposite of vulnerability. It's like, I don't even want to look. Like, I feel like there's certain things that have crashed and burned in your life to the point that you don't even want to look because they're so ugly. But it's Scorpio season, and now's the perfect time to look. Like, so even if you have to grin and bear it, if you will, it's really important to look at where you feel most limited and how you can move past that, the Chariot. Because the journey does not happen overnight. Both the Knight of Pentacles and the Chariot are very slow. When I say 6 months, 6 months really could push the end of May, which goes into, goes into Gemini season. But then we have Cancer season, right? And Cancer is your opposite sign. You guys, Capricorn wants physical stability, you know, a type of tangible stability. Cancer wants emotional stability, right? They want to feel safe emotionally and spiritually, really, on a psychic level. Like, they want to feel like their mental space is not being attacked and not being meddled with, right? Because Cancer energy is very spongy and picks up a lot of information and a lot of things that are unsaid. So I also feel like I said before, it's important that you speak clearly, because I feel like holding your tongue right now will limit your ability to have luck turn in your favor again. And that there's something here about the key to forward motion is verbal acknowledgement. Okay? Because, and it's also important to remember that owning your emotional baggage is a journey. And admittance is the first step, right? Admitting we have a problem is the first step. And then after that is when we start to create levity, right? Because we are talking about a successful change of course, right? But we're not picking up pace quite yet, okay? And then in the most likely outcome moving into December, which I'm thinking will shift at your mid-month reading, is the Nine of Swords with the Tower. On the Tower, we have disruption. So again, going back to what I was saying before, the more that we cling to things, the more that Spirit shows us that we can do without that, and why, right? I feel like if you have any type of coping mechanism, or if you have anything that you really, really cling to out of a false sense of security, there's a good chance that Spirit is going to kind of jar that loose from you this month or toward the end of the month. The Nine of Swords, though, is always restless energy, and it's just unnecessary anxiety about change, because obviously we don't know what happens after the change, and it disrupts our, quote, plan, right? But we plan and God laughs, and that's really how that cookie crumbles. But Spirit, further clarify the Nine of Swords in the Tower as the most likely outcome for Capricorn moving into December. Nine of Wands with the Ace of Swords. So I feel like you're going to be getting clarity on where you tend to be really hesitant and untrusting of people, of situations, and even of spiritual inclinations, okay? Because you're afraid the past is going to repeat itself, and I can guarantee you that it definitely will if you keep operating in the same energy that you have been for the last 9 years. Yeah, and then we have Page of Crystals in the Death card. So you are being given an opportunity to learn, right? Once and for all. I feel like once and for all is the big message. Learn once and for all how you can create change in your life, and that it's going to require you to not only have have things physically change in their life, but have an ego death, right? So Scorpio season is offering you the opportunity to no longer fear that the past is going to come back to haunt you. And then it definitely will if you ignore it. And it definitely will if you, you know, if you keep saying, well, I've had this happen to me before, so it's going to happen again. And then finally, we have perspective, or the Hanged Man, which is saying, take every opportunity you get to take a deep breath, pause, and reflect. And whatever perspective you're in on whatever subject it is that's feeling very trying, that's feeling very jarring, that's feeling like it's just your childhood is never going to stop haunting you, look at it from the other perspective and breathe. Find the love. Find the silver lining. Find the divine perspective, right? Accelerate higher. Look from different shifts and angles, and I feel like you will find a lot more peace, okay? Capricorn, I love you. Again, go to the description box if you're interested in your mid-month reading, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.